Centaur, your kind of company. Centaur, your kind of company.
Tonight on CTV3 News, Belize's malaria-free certification. What benefits does it bring along? More than 20,000 signed petitions are handed over to the Governor General. Oceana Belize hopes to trigger a referendum on any decision relating to offshore oil exploration activity, including seismic testing. Teachers from the North prepare for the introduction of the new National Competency Curriculum. And Belize is praised for its amnesty program. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Thursday, June 22nd, 2023.
And now, the hottest match of the evening. Get ready for action! Here they come. Amazing! They're unstoppable, unbeatable. They have him on the ropes. The heat rises to the top. 1, 2, and 3. They're on fire. Chiladas. Fire up the taste of Belize with the new Chiladas crunchy tortilla taco chips in its hot chili flavor. Fiery habanero brings the heat. They're on fire. Chiladas. From Snackers, done right, done here.
Humans and dinosaurs can't coexist. We created an ecological disaster.
Ellie Sattler.
Alan Grant.
You didn't come out all this way just to catch up now, did you?
You coming or what?
That's another plane, right?
Not exactly.
Don't move.
Good evening. With your news also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7, I am Ethan Rodriguez. On June 20th, 2023, the World Health Organization certified Belize as malaria-free, following over 70 years of continued efforts to stamp out the disease. In the Americas region, 11 countries have been certified malaria-free. Following the achievements of Paraguay, Argentina, and El Salvador, Belize became the fourth country in the Americas and the second in Central America to be certified as free of malaria over the last 5 years. But the extraordinary achievement does not only mean receiving a certificate that declares you free of malaria, it also comes with other benefits, says the Vector Control Chief of Operations, Kim Bautista.
There are a couple benefits that the country receives by being declared malaria-free by the World Health Organization. So the first one is that you are placed on the official register as a malaria-free country. And then there are basically indirect benefits that does have economic benefits. So you look at avoiding the loss of productivity in the workforce, whereby illnesses such as malaria and other vector-borne illnesses normally takes a toll on the workforce. It normally affects certain marginalized groups within the work sector, especially like within the banana industry, the citrus industry, and those industries. So you avoid that loss in productivity and also potential loss of life. Also, you look at being removed as from all travel guidelines or travel warnings as a destination that that has travel advisories for malaria. So there's an indirect benefit as well in that regard. I mean, whereby if you look at our tourism package, you won't have that impacting indirectly our product that we're selling out there on the market. So there is also that benefit. In terms of from a more larger scope, there's always looking at whereby other countries that are part of this global fight, they look at countries such as ours in terms of our best practices. What have we been doing in terms of the application of certain best practices, and how these impact program success. So you indirectly, you serve as sort of an inspiration to these countries involved in the fight against malaria.
Belize's last case of malaria was recorded in 2018 in Trio, Toledo. Right after, with all the proper systems in place, Belize applied to the WHO for certification.
The primary criteria for that was you have to maintain 3 consecutive years of 0 local cases, and also being able to demonstrate that there is a sensitive surveillance system in place, that if you get an imported case, you would be able to pick that up before transmission is established locally. So we applied to WHO in April of last year. And then towards the end of February, early March of this year, we had a team from the WHO, an independent assessment team that came in to do the assessment at the facility level, at the ministry level, right down to the community level at volunteers and community health workers, to have an idea in terms of what system did we put in place to get us here, and what system do we have going forward to sustain these advancements.
But even with high possibilities of malaria becoming antediluvian, the surveillance must continue.
Our health staff, we have to be sensitive and sensitized in these illnesses, because we have to maintain that surveillance system. So we recognize that, and I think that it's something that we continue to to work at. And going forward, I think it's going to be one of the things that we have to focus on, things like cross-border surveillance. Our borders are very porous. We rely quite a bit as well on migrant labor for within the various agro industries. And so you have persons coming from endemic areas, and then also the tourism package, because we do pick up persons that are positive through that route as well. So I think that going forward, we do have to look at that as well, and strengthening those things, because it's going to be very challenging to maintain that status as well.
The World Health Organization noted that over the last 3 decades, Belize has achieved a dramatic reduction in its malaria burden, from a peak of about 10,000 cases in 1994 to 0 indigenous cases in 2019. Of note is that Belize is also a member of the E2025 initiative, a group of countries identified by the organization as having the potential to eliminate malaria by 2025. Belize is the third country to be awarded a malaria-free status in 2023, following the certifications of Azerbaijan and Tajikistan in March. It has been several months since the People's Constitutional Commission was formed with the purpose to revise the Constitution of Belize, an effort that, when completed, will provide recommendations to the Prime Minister, who will then take it to Cabinet before it is presented to the House of Representatives. As the process continues, earlier this week, the PCC gathered for the launch of its public education and consultation. The launch of the Constitution Education Booklet includes a guide to Belize Constitution, the fundamental rights of the people of Belize, and a brief summary of the Belize Constitution volume. The PCC Chair Anthony Chanona says that these tools will play a part in the way forward. The expectation is that it will tear down the barrier of having limited knowledge of the Constitution.
The expectations is that the tools that we launched today, thanks to Professor Destro, Dickie Bradley, will play an important part in the way going forward. So we have high expectations that we're going to tear down this barrier of having no knowledge or enough knowledge of our Constitution.
The launch today also featured a report, the PCC year-to-date report. Yeah, let's get an update on that.
Yes, well, as was reported, we launched on 14th of November in Belmopan, and then we began working going forward. You know, I say 7 months because if you look at the Christmas and Easter holidays, and, you know, we're a country of holidays, we lost some time. But we kept the team together, which was my main job, familiarization of each other, trying to manage the dynamics that sit around the table, and not having had once to put a matter to a vote. We've always been able to arrive at consensus in the decision making. So I believe that we are now at the point to begin to engage the people. And as I said earlier, the voice of the people is the voice of God. Philip Olson reminded us of that. And so I believe that when we start talking to the people, especially the young people, I have great expectations that these zones, because we're going to interface with the Ministry of Education and have access to all that database, when these young people start to wrap their minds around apps, debates, essays, poster competitions, logo competitions, you're going to see the energy released from 62% of our population, 25 years and younger.
Chanona also explained the Commission's plans for going into the schools across the country.
Each zone, the template we're developing is in the northern zone. We have all that structure in place. Those zones are going to develop their own. We have one set of citizen survey questions that will be common across all the zones, the talking points will be common across all the zones. We have to have consistency in the messaging. Otherwise, we'll create some chaos and confusion. So we are going to standardize the messaging, and these zones are going to, we're going to train them. SIB, the Statistical Institute of Belize, will train them, and we will onboard them with all the resources. And then they use the culture of their zones. For example, I understand that in Corozal, they have a special cultural event they call Art in the Park. So they know the culture, they know the people better than the Secretariat does. So we're onboarding them with the resources they will develop with the assistance of the persons that are assigned to these zones to develop these curricula, these activities. That is what we expect from these zones.
During this week's launch, there were several memorandums of understanding signed with various organizations, giving access to databases from the diaspora, the Ministry of Education, and the Statistical Institute of Belize.
The statute mandate that we have instructs that the final report must have taken into consideration people living abroad, the diaspora. And Dr. Carolyn Denetry has developed a masterpiece of data collection and information. By signing this agreement, we not only tap into that database and that knowledge, but it gives us coverage into several areas beyond the United States of America, including Europe, Latin America, South America. It's a tremendous opportunity. We signed on to that. It also gives us the authenticity of tapping into the database for this Statistical Institute of Belize, and also now with the Ministry of Education. The ministry has a database of over 6,000 teachers that have to develop these curricula. So by declaring September the month, Constitution Month, we get to feed into our programs and these activities that then go into the school system. If you look at it, Belize has 100,000 children in the high school, 100,000. If each household has 2, and chances are there's more, might be 3 or 4, and each school has a project to take in this citizen survey, we expect to get 200,000 or 300,000 responses from that initiative. So I can't underscore just how important it is to have signed these memorandum of understanding.
It is also important to note that September was designated as Constitution Month to highlight the importance of constitution reform in Belize. 145 women and men joined the ranks of the Belize Police Department today. The ceremony was held at the Police Training Academy in Belmopan City, where family and friends converged to witness the passing out of Recruit Squad number 96. Elmer Cornejo brings us the details in the next story.
Recruit Squad number 96 of the Belize Police Department graduated today from the National Police Training Academy in Belmopan. The breakdown in gender is as follows: 102 men and 43 women. That is, for every woman joining the force, 3 men are added to the number. The new squad of men and women who formed the outgoing cohort of officers marched onto the parade square this morning, where a formal ceremony was held to commemorate their accomplishment.
It is indeed good to see that we were able to graduate 145 new police officers today, and those officers are now a part of the rank of the Belize Police Department, and we anticipate that with the injection of this new squad into our ranks, that we'll be able to cover more grounds in terms of providing citizen security to our people. They have been distributed across the country, with the northern districts getting the majority of them, followed by the west, the south, and the eastern region getting the least, which is not normally the case. But again, we have seen that there is a call or a cry for police officers in different parts of the country. We have expanded in certain areas, and this squad, as much as it will not give us the amount of officers we need to carry out our expansion, it gives us that start that we need, and we're hoping that with the next squad, Squad 97, we'll be able to carry out our expansion in its entirety.
With gun violence plaguing the nation, the recruit squad received an even more vigorous training in the area of firearms.
We used to do 1 day of firearms training. With Squad 95 and 96, we have upped that, where they do 1 week of classroom training with firearms in terms of the theoretical aspect of the firearm, knowing the components and so forth, and then they have 1 week on the range. In the past, you fire 10 rounds on the range and that was it. This time you fire several rounds and from different types of weapons. So it gives the police officer the ability to be able to know how to handle the different types of weapons that police would normally use on a daily basis.
And of course, the minister responsible for police also formed part of today's ceremony. He congratulated the new squad with the proper accolades as each of them swore to protect the jewel and its citizens.
Back in 2016, the strength of the police department stood at 2,600 police officers. Over the years, that number has dwindled, and with the passing out of Squad 96 today, our numbers will grow to 2,200 police officers. And hereafter, we will be having another squad coming in, Squad 97, in the coming months. And so that should take us closer to the 2,500 mark, which I believe is a strong enough force for us to have in Belize.
I know this squad followed a lot of the same regiment as the last squad in terms of community policing. Talk about the effect Squad 95 has been having and how you hope Squad 96 would continue that.
Both squads, it is my hope and my expectation, will be leaders within their precincts, whichever precinct they're posted to. We have revised the curriculum, we have revised the criteria for you to become a police officer, and so far we have not had any complaints from Squad 95, and we're looking forward to likewise exemplary performance from this particular squad. As you saw, we even issued an award for human rights. Success in their human rights courses that they took. And so there's a new revised curriculum that we've been working with over the last 2 or 3 years with Dr. Priscilla Brown as the Dean of the Academy. And it is excellent performance so far, and we look forward to greater things from both Squad 95 and 96.
150 prospects signed up for the training, and at the end, 5 would not complete it to the ranks of the police department. Elmer Cornejo, CTV3 News.
The U.S. State Department has issued its report on the trafficking in humans 2023, and Belize retains the rank of Tier 2. According to the U.S. Department of State, Belize has shown significant effort in tracking the issue of human trafficking, but unfortunately, the country has not convicted any traffickers, nor have initiated any new cases against suspected traffickers. Additionally, the report states that Belize has not adequately overseen labor recruitment, nor has it investigated allegations of labor trafficking of Indians and the People's Republic of China nationals. While Belize lacked in those areas, the report has given praise for the country's amnesty program, which has seen 4 trafficking victims apply to the program. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams spoke on this matter today, stating that while efforts continue within the department to help combat this age-old problem, he agrees that more can be done.
Well, we cannot prosecute people if they're not caught committing the offense. We can't convict people if they're not before the courts. You see, this whole trafficking issue, it is a complex one. It is not as slam dunk as one would want it to be. We, like the report said, we are making great strides. We are doing what we can to address the issue. But at the same time, we have to understand that prosecuting persons who are suspected of human trafficking do require the cooperation of the persons who are being trafficked. And we find that many a times when we encounter these situations, the people who we believe are being trafficked refuse to cooperate. Say, if they refuse to cooperate with the investigators, then we can't go anywhere. And that's why I would like to see an amendment to the law to say that if you withhold the passport of a person who works with you or an immigrant who is working with you, that itself should constitute an offense. Because many a times the employer has the passport. why will you have the passport of your employer? You must be to control the person, right? So that should be an offense as far as I am concerned. And I think if that is done, we'll be able to prosecute more people for human trafficking.
The Senate has approved an inquiry into the definitive agreement of Portico that has drawn national and international attention. Senator Janelle Chanona for the NGOs, Senator Elena Smith for the labor unions, Senator Alvin Benguch for the churches, and Senator Kevin Herrera for the business community signed a motion to launch a Senate Special Select Committee, marking a significant step in investigating the definitive agreement signed between Portico Enterprise Limited and the government of Belize, just days before the last general election. The agreement, which was signed by then Minister of Economic Development Erwin Contreras. The 6-member committee's term of reference would include examining all dealings tied to the agreement, as well as examining its presentation to the Cabinet in May of this year. The investigation aims to shed light on any relevant communication among the key players regarding the document, to assess compliance with statutory and procedures and policies, and to ensure transparency and accountability. Today, Senator Janelle Chanona gave us an update on the matter.
Collectively, in early June, the social partners met and we jointly discussed this matter and drafted jointly the motion. We put it to the President and the Clerk. We have been informed that the motion will be on the order papers for the next Senate meeting, and we hope to get the necessary votes for that to happen. We felt it was important to do that as our own. We shared it simultaneously with both sides of the aisle, and we will see how the motion is debated.
What was your reaction when you first saw the definitive agreement?
I will reserve comments specific to the agreement because we are asking for an inquiry. I do want to underscore personally my position that I don't want this to be perceived as anything but an inquiry at this time. This is not there are no predetermined conclusions before, but we think that enough is out there that it should be fully ventilated so that everybody is armed or aware with what is at play. And I will leave it there.
Will the inquiry maybe see calling to the witness stand, quote unquote, Mr. Contreras, Mr. Prime Minister, the former AG?
The only thing I will say is that as a senator, I am very aware of the core functions of the Senate being to conduct inquiries, to bring whomever is able to provide information to the inquiry panel to make sure that they have the information needed to draw a report, and I will leave it there.
Coming up next, we take you to Belmopan, where the Governor General receives over 20,000 signed petitions from Oceana, Belize. Stay tuned.
If you're lucky, no matter what life hands you, you can always count on your closest friends to be there.
Oh, thank you. My purse was exhausted. We are all blissfully unaware when our lives are about to change.
Life is full of surprises.
I'm ready to lose my virginity.
Excuse me?
I got the list.
What list? There's a whole brouhaha at school about this MILF list.
For real?
Our lunchtime fodder is not usually this lowbrow, I swear.
Really? Who have you been eating with?
It's a big step up for Che and me.
I've been having exit out of grief sex. It's just sex.
The world has changed since you've been out there. Men have feelings too.
Life's too short not to try something new. And just like that, I realized some things are better left in the past. But maybe not everything.
Sign up for a smart share plan and save big Whether you're a small entrepreneur starting up your business, a student on a limited budget, or a family trying to save, this is the plan for you. With unlimited SMS, calls, and data, we help you save. Get up to 5 lines for as low as $30 per line monthly, only with Smart. Sign up today at any Smart showroom or sales manager countrywide. So get your business going, share more memories with friends, and be ready for the day with Smart.
A new national competency-based curriculum will be rolled out for the entire country of Belize this coming school year. The Ministry of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology are presently working in training teachers to scissor out better teaching skills and techniques in order to provide a high-quality education for students under the curriculum. Today, that intent is ongoing as teachers from high schools in the north converge at the Orange Walk IT Vet for a training. Elmer Cornejo tells us more in the following story.
The Ministry of Education, Culture, Science and Technology launched a tech training program for teachers 2 years ago, and it is now in its final stage. The training is implemented via collaboration between the Ministry and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT. In this session, the 2-day workshop began today at the Orange Walk IT Vet Conference Room.
Belize recently switched to a new competency-based model of education throughout the whole country. And at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, we're really big on competencies in the motto of MIT is minds and hands. So it's not only our students thinking deeply about the content, but they're also using their hands to create something, to build something new for themselves. And that's really the theme of this workshop. We're encouraging teachers to engage in hands-on science, technology, artistic endeavors, and then reflect on them so that they can bring some of that back into their classroom in the fall. We're sharing some techniques for encouraging inquiry in your classroom, whether it's a physics classroom, a math classroom, or a tech classroom, having students ask questions and feel empowered to find ways to answer them. We're sharing activities that can be used to introduce topics that are quite complex. For instance, now the teachers are building a bridge out of newspaper, cups, and tape, which will connect to physics concepts about compression and tension, and really show that in order for students to truly internalize and understand those complex topics, it helps if they're building and showing with physical objects what those topics are about.
The teachers were placed in groups for a paper beam bridge challenge where they took the role of students and had a limited time to complete the activity. Asalia Martinez told us what the experience was like, and from the looks of it, walking in the shoes of her students is not as easy as it looks, especially with the ever-changing technological world.
It's a learning experience. This is a way to make our teaching and learning sessions more creative. It gives the opportunity for the students to learn by interacting, by using hands-on activities. For instance, the activity for today, I saw myself in the shoes of my students, whereby I am gaining more experience of how to deal with my students in the classroom and move them from one level to another level. We were given a few instructions, and for me it was really an enjoyable experience because I had to brainstorm on the ways how I will find a solution to use 2 cups, a few of newspaper for us to balance
The laptop?
Yes, for us to balance the laptop or any other item. And that experience allowed us to think out of the box and to use our previous knowledge to see how we can find solutions to complex problems. I do believe technology plays an important role, especially in this era where we are part of a technological society. and it requires us going the extra mile to prepare our students for them to be functional citizens and be able to be functional Belizeans in our changing country.
Similar trainings are being carried out in various parts of the country this week. At the end of the 2-day training, teachers will be in a better position to understand and execute the new national competency-based curriculum, whose implementation will be rolled out completely across Belize this coming school year.
It's a new curriculum for everyone, but one of the things that I think aligns really well with MIT is that competency-based model, saying that like tests aren't the only way for students to show off their knowledge. It's if you are studying algebra, can you use quadratic equations to find like maximum profit for a business, or the like build a rocket that follows a specific path based on the quadratic equation you're using for it. So it's still like the competency model that Belize is adopting is more encouraging students to be able to do something with their knowledge, and not focusing on like penalizing students for maybe having a bad day and like not being able to do well on the test that specific day, because there are multiple pathways that they can use to show what they've learned.
With teachers broadening their skills, high school students can expect better designed learning tasks, which will in turn impact their educational experience by offering them a place and space where they can earn a higher quality of education. Elmer Cornejo, CTV3 News.
Back in November of 2022, Oceana Belize launched a petition drive to compel the Briceño administration to conduct a referendum on any decision relating to offshore oil exploration activity, including seismic testing. Back then, the vice president of the organization, Janelle Chanona, said the decision was made after Oceana confirmed that the government has the intention to engage in seismic testing without prior approval from the public.
We had and we remain dedicated towards strengthening the moratorium, and we had approached the current administration to look at how we can strengthen that existing protection. When we learned that there was some consideration and intention to do seismic to quote-unquote know what's out there. And we felt and continue to feel very strongly that the public deserves to be part of that decision-making process in terms of lifting the moratorium, because seismic would constitute exploration, and the current moratorium speaks to a suspension of all exploration or extraction activities. At the end of the day, what this reiterates, reminds, and truly respects is that Belizeans since 2010 have wanted to be part of the conversation on offshore oil, part of the decision. And I think it is increasingly a point that this is environmental justice.
Now, Oceana Belize feels it is in a better position, inching its way to engage in a referendum with signatures already collected from eligible Belizeans, who responded to the following question: do you support a legislative ban by way of an amendment to the Belize Constitution, Chapter 4 of the Laws of Belize, which will prohibit offshore petroleum and natural gas exploration, including but not limited to seismic testing, seismic surveys, multi-beam surveys, development, drilling, extraction, production, storage, and disposal within the internal waters, territorial sea, and the exclusive economic zone of Belize, unless a referendum is held in accordance with the Referendum Act, Chapter 10 of the Laws of Belize, which approves such petroleum operations. Today, those petitions, over 22,000 of them, were handed over to the Governor General. The hope is to now trigger a referendum.
We will all be impacted by it, and we've just come out of a major heat wave, so we know what's ahead. We know what's happening already to the planet, and I think it's really remarkable that in a country where so many things are happening all at once, when it comes to oil, the situation has always been the same. We want to make this decision together. Who are we if we are not second longest barrier reef in the world? Who are we if we can't go eat mango in a sea? Who are we if we can't go catch the fish and then eat at the same time? That is such a part of us, and we see that even when we move out of Belize, that is the associations that we connect to when we are away from home. And I think that is truly what's been the common line between 2010 and now, why this emotion is so high around this issue, because as I said, so many things fall off of the stove, back of the stove, get lost, replaced by the next scandal or the next big issue. But this issue, there has been persistence, resistance, perseverance. Belizeans really don't want to be left out of this conversation, because I think they fully grasp, or very many Belizeans fully grasp what that would mean and just how inherently dirty and dangerous it is.
Back in February of 2012, an initiative dubbed the People's Referendum, in which over 30,000 Belizeans participated, with more than 96% voting against offshore oil activity, a number of signatures were discarded. This time around, though, Chanuna says the organization and its wave makers have done due diligence, and they trust the vetting of signatures will have excellent results.
When we launched the signature drive exercise in the middle of November, that was certainly a guiding waypoint, if I could call it, in this, because it was imperative for us that all signatures be accepted. And what we have done in the 6 months since then has been to vet, confirm by phone calls, everything that we could think of to do. We've even built in a rudimentary but effective system to make sure there are no arbitrary disqualification of the signatures. It is a fact that 22,000 Belizeans have signed. We know we have gone through the system, and to be perfectly honest, we were doing so without the benefit of a master list of verifying that those persons that provided that information are registered Belizean voters. And so we can confidently say we have exceeded the legally required threshold of the 10% to trigger the referendum.
According to Chanuna, her organization will forever stand guard, ready to inject movement and the use of the right to a referenda process whenever the water or land of Belize find itself under threat.
This has been a way of life for the last 6 months, and truly a labor of love. But I dare say we would do it all over again. As you know, the Referendum Act, the results are only advisory. But it's really important for the public, and I think increasingly we're seeing where the public wants to participate in decision making, wants to know what's going on, wants to be a part of it. And transparency and truth can't be only when it's convenient.
The next step is for the signatures to be vetted, and if the threshold for a referendum is reached, it will be triggered. Commissioner of Police Chester Williams has assumed the role of President of the Commission of Chiefs and Directors of Police of Central America, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Colombia. Williams was designated to that post on June 21st during a virtual meeting of the 34th Extraordinary General Assembly of the Commission. The Commission's mandate includes fostering interregional and international cooperation with various security organizations and agencies, promoting the exchange of information and expertise, and coordinating efforts to combat transnational crime and enhance the safety of citizens. He is the first commissioner from Belize to hold this position. The position now entitles Belize to host the 28th Ordinary General Assembly of the Commission in November of this year. His presidency, according to Compold Williams, places Belize in a position to lobby with regional partners on various matters, including combating transnational crime such as drug trafficking.
Well, yesterday we had the extraordinary meeting of the Central America Chiefs, Directors, and Commissioners of Police FIR. And during that meeting, we had the elections of president. Myself and the Director General from Honduras vied for the presidency, and I was victorious at the end. And so I am now the new president of that association.
That may be, a lot on your plate. How are you planning to deal with all of that, given that, this region, there's a lot going on?
Well, I am certain that I'll be able to deal with it. I am putting together a secretariat to work out of my office, and they are going to be coordinating with the Interpol Central American Bureau that's in El Salvador, as they are the ones who normally coordinate the efforts of the association. And so I don't see any difficulty in terms of being able to carry out the functions of the association as well as my function as Commissioner of Police.
This will be Belizean professionals?
Yes, Belizean professionals, yes.
The benefits in terms of dealing with transnational crimes?
Well, certainly it's going to enhance our ability to be able to work very closely with our Central American, the Caribbean, Colombia, and Mexico allies. I can tell you I was on a one-week visit to Honduras last week, and we discussed many issues affecting policing within both countries, and we were able to forge partnership in several areas. The Honduran National Police have agreed to provide training for the police in Belize in human trafficking, human smuggling, cybercrime, gang identification, and as well as intelligence analysts. So there's a lot that we can learn from Honduras. We also stopped in Salvador, and I met with the Director General in Salvador as well, and they also agreed to provide training for our officers. If a matter of fact, Honduras agreed to give us 4 scholarships annually for a police officer to attend the police college in Honduras. That's a 4-year program. So once we get that going, it certainly is going to enhance our ability. The police officers will be able to get more professional and detailed training in law enforcement.
Compol Williams will hold the post of president for the period 2023-2024. Last week, Belizeans were shocked to see members of the House of Representatives engaged in a fiery exchange with each other, which even resulted in insults being hurled across both sides and a scolding from the Speaker of the House, Honorable Valerie Woods, who chided both sides on their behavior, which was captured by the media. Minister of Home Affairs Karim Musa was not present during Friday's sitting. However, that did not stop his name from being called during the exchange between Tourism Minister Anthony Mahler and Opposition Leader Shine Barrow. Minister Musa today weighed in on that unfortunate exchange.
Very unfortunate. Again, Jules, it seems like the guy has an unhealthy fascination with me, an obsession almost. I don't know how it is that he is the only person on planet Earth that heard Karim Musa got punched. Where did he invent this from? He's making Andre Gray look like one Lee Boyman in terms of the stories that he's inventing. So again, another invention, but certainly another insight, another window into who the leader of the opposition is, and Belize has nothing good to look forward to with him.
And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Friday, June 23rd here on CTV3 and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3belizenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3belizenews or our YouTube channel at CTV3NewsBZ. Remember to wash your hands and remain safe. From all of us here at CTV3 News, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.